after the show. Hey. All right, let's switch. How about I run the camera on this thing? I'd love to see that.
Oh, I'll do it. She knows I'll do it. I'm at that point when I don't care who I this one. Only about you. I'm the only one I care about. I mean,
So hey, at the meeting yesterday, did it happen? Did you stay for all the public comments and stuff?
No, we left. We stayed for like maybe 4 people. I mean, they had what 26 people to speak.
Are you serious?
Yeah. So we said and it was like the same people. And it said we have 4 sound sources.
Oh, it's great.
Yeah, right. It's going to be funny if we sing it.
Right, exactly.
Right.
And also, I did not have to.
oh, like, I need a white balance. Good thing there's a white car right there.
Of West Allis, ice out. 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 Of West Allis, ice out.
I believe you are all okay to start.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you all for being here. My name is Angelito Tenorio, and I have the honor of serving as state representative for the 14th Assembly District. I am a lifelong resident of West Allis and the proud son of Filipino immigrants. My parents came to Wisconsin in search of finding a better life, and they taught me the values that define so many families here in West Allis. Working hard, looking out for your neighbors, caring for one another, and treating every person with dignity and respect. Those values have shaped who I am today, and they should be reflected in the policies that we adopt as a community. We're here because the West Allis Police and Fire Commission recently approved a new immigration policy that does not require a judicial warrant before local law enforcement assists ICE. While the Commission made an important improvement by including U-visa provisions and removing some of the most problematic, outdated language, it failed to adopt the most important safeguard, a judicial warrant standard. That was the wrong decision. A judicial warrant is a constitutional safeguard. It means a judge has reviewed the evidence and determined that there's a lawful basis for detention. It protects due process and prevents unlawful detention and ensures accountability. Administrative warrants signed by ICE are not the same thing. They are not reviewed by a judge and should never be treated as a sufficient authority for local law enforcement. At a time where we've seen so many reports and stories from across the country, across the Midwest, of unlawful immigration enforcement, mistaken detentions, racial profiling, multiple violations of due process, local governments like the City of West Allis have an even greater responsibility to uphold the Constitution, protect the rights of everyone in our community. This is about public safety, community safety. Public safety depends on trust. When people trust local law enforcement, they're able to report crimes, cooperate with investigations, and call for help when needed. When that trust is broken, everyone is less safe. That's why it's so important that we include this judicial warrant status. A judicial warrant requirement draws a clear and visible line between local public safety and federal immigration enforcement. It assures residents that contacting local police for assistance will not accidentally trigger a pipeline to an immigration detention center. The Fourth Amendment is clear. A judicial warrant only lets the government enter your home if it's signed by a judge. Federal courts around the nation have held local law enforcement agencies liable for unconstitutional detentions pursuant to ICE detainers. If ICE provides false information to justify an arrest, the West Allis Police Department shouldn't be left holding the bag. Requiring a judicial warrant does not block federal enforcement. It simply ensures that the West Allis Police Department does not do ICE's bidding based on inaccurate information. Because the data shows that a vast majority of individuals flagged by routine ICE administrative requests have no violent criminal records. A judicial warrant requirement ensures that local police resources are reserved exclusively for cases involving vetted and severe public safety threats. We trust the police department, the West Allis Police Department, to arrest and probable cause. We do not trust ICE to do the same, giving the overwhelming evidence that ICE has repeatedly lied and mischaracterized the basis of its arrests. We simply cannot accept ICE because they are not a legitimate law enforcement agency. They're armed thugs bullying and terrorizing our communities, and it's important that we do this work here in West Allis. West Allis has always been a community where we look out for one another. Our city is stronger because of people from different backgrounds. Diversity is our strength. People come here for generations, and new families come here because they want to raise their families in a safe, caring community. We want to look out for one another. Those are the shared values that should inform our policies here at the local level. Today, we're calling on the West Allis Police and Fire Commission, the police chief, and city leaders to revisit this policy and adopt a clear judicial warrant standard. It's the right thing to do. It protects due process, strengthens community trust, and makes West Allis safer for everyone. Our community deserves a policy that reflects our values: fairness, accountability, dignity, respect for our Constitution, and looking out for one another. I now have the pleasure of introducing my friend and colleague, County Supervisor Justin Allis.
Good morning. I am Justin Belinsky. I am the county supervisor, along with my colleague here, Sky Capriola, who represent West Allis collectively at the county board. As a local official, I know all too well how tight our local budgets are. In my role as a county supervisor, I have chairmanship of the committee that oversees the jail and the sheriff's department. So public safety is something I take very seriously. Unfortunately, local officials collaborating with a federal law enforcement that has really gotten out of control and turned into a tool of fascism does not make us safer. And so I want to take a real quick step back and say how we got here in the first place. So during this winter, when Minneapolis was essentially occupied by an occupying force, and when two protesters were murdered in cold blood by federal authorities, Renee Good and Alex Preddy, I was very interested in learning how our local community in West Allis dealt with ICE collaboration, should ICE ever decide to come here. And I watched a community meeting where a community member asked this very same question to Chief Mitchell, and his response of whether he would collaborate with ICE was, well, if ICE was in a position where they were trapped by protesters, we would come and rescue ICE. I don't think that's what he was being asked, and that certainly isn't a scenario I can imagine happening. So I reached out to him. I said, hey, can we meet? Can we discuss this? Can we, just talk about this issue? And his answer was no. He only wanted to communicate in writing. The county board, we wanted to protect our community members from ICE occupation, so we passed a resolution that said that, or an ordinance that said that ICE could not use it, no law enforcement could use our county parks as a staging area for mass operations. And that was specifically designed to exclude routine law enforcement by local officials. Chief Mitchell took this and he told me in an email that this was an anti-law enforcement measure, which could not be further from the truth. It was a enhancing public safety and use of our public spaces measure. And so that began to have me wonder, what really were his intentions here when we combine that with his answer at that community forum. So I asked for a copy of the SOP on how they deal with immigration in West Allis, and I was dismayed to learn that not only did they allow collaboration with ICE, but they pretty much required it under the old SOP. They required that people be asked their citizenship status when being booked for arrest. They required notification of federal officials if someone answered that they were not a U.S. citizen. And none of those things make us any safer, and we don't need to do that. So that's why we're here today. We're here to call at the minimum, a judicial warrant standard before West Allis would even consider using their limited resources to collaborate with an out-of-control fascist regime, essentially. So that's kind of why we're here. This coalition is a group of community members who came together for a common purpose, and that's really what this is all about. I want to right now throw it to Andrew Wareheim from the Milwaukee Area Labor Council.
My name is Andrew Wareheim. I'm the Education and Organizing Coordinator for the Milwaukee Area Labor Council. The Milwaukee Area Labor Council is proud to house an Immigrant Rights Committee, and actually one of the leaders of that committee, Julissa, is here today in solidarity with ICE out of West Allis. I'm also a proud member of AFSCME Local 1954, OPEIU Local 9, and the Milwaukee branch of the Industrial Workers of the World. I am a worker and I'm a union man. I'm also the husband of an amazing and loving wife who's also here in support, and I'm a father to an 18-year-old son who I love with all my heart. I'm a family man. Finally, I've been a resident of West Allis since 2012, and I'm proud to call this working class city my home. I'm a West Allian. I want to begin by stating that workers' rights are immigrant rights, and immigrant rights are workers' rights. The working class knows no borders, but we do know solidarity. When we go to a job, we don't ask the worker next to us what his citizenship status is. Instead, we say hello, we shake hands, and we get to work knowing that we have each other's back. And we refuse to let a boss on the job divide us, so you better believe we refuse to let a boss in the White House or in the police department divide us as well. Solidarity is rooted in trust. Workers must trust one another to get the job done. But one federal agency that has proven itself to be unworthy of trust is ICE. ICE has openly disregarded constitutional limitations of their power. First Amendment, Fourth Amendment, Fifth Amendment, you pick. An example of this is DHS's home entry memo titled Utilizing Form I-205, Warrant of Removal, which allowed ICE to go into and remove folks from their home based on administrative warrants, and y'all heard about those, issued by the agency itself, not a judge. A clear violation of the Fourth Amendment. Furthermore, the unbridled violence wielded by ICE against our immigrant fellow workers and their disregard of constitutional restraint has spilled over to American citizens, such as Alex Preddy, who was murdered by ICE for exercising his constitutional rights and standing up for his neighbors. Like I said, workers' rights are immigrant rights, and immigrant rights are workers' rights. When we're talking about the illegal deportation of sheet, metal, air, transportation, and rail worker Local 100 member Kilmar Obrego Garcia, or the murder of American Federation of Government Employees Local 3669 member Alex Preddy, it is clear that labor must stand in solidarity with our immigrant fellow workers in order to be true to itself, because immigrants are not them, they are us. Workers like us, parents like us, children like us, aunts and uncles like us, West Allis residents like us. And this is why we're calling on the West Allis Police Department to adopt a judicial warrant standard as the only possible avenue for communication with ICE. Administrative warrants are asinine, issued by the agency that executes them, and in this case by an agency that has proved itself untrustworthy and violent. I don't trust ICE, but I trust my fellow workers. I trust my fellow families. I trust my fellow West Allians, and the police department must take the same position. The best way to keep ICE out of West Allis is by making sure we never let them in. And that means no cooperation with ICE on the basis of administrative warrants. So to my fellow West Allis unionists, fellow workers, family, and residents, join us. Join ICE out of West Allis in our campaign to ensure that police policy keeps all of us in West Allis safe and keeps ICE out. Next up, we have Pastor Stephen from Mount Hope Lutheran Church.
Good morning. I am Pastor Stephen Boyhunt, and as a Lutheran minister in West Allis at Mount Hope Lutheran Church on 86 and Beecher, I am here in solidarity and support with the ICE Out Coalition, as called by my ordination vows and faith in Jesus Christ. It is true in the majority of faith traditions that we are called to take care of our most vulnerable in our community, regardless of any characteristic, including race and national origin. A judicial warrant standard would be the right step to protect our community, help residents of color who are statistically more likely to be targeted, and even keep our West Allis Police Department safer from immigration and customs enforcement abuse that has been on full display. A judicial warrant helps ensure that due process is observed and carried out. I want to put my trust in the West Allis Police Department. I have no trust in a federal agency that is poorly trained, is held unaccountable for violence, and is weaponized against people we are told that we should be afraid of. No one can possibly be illegal on stolen land.
Right. Yeah.
Matthew 25, verse 35. I was hungry and you gave me food. I was thirsty and you gave me a drink. I was a stranger and you welcomed me. I fully believe in West Allis's welcoming and compassionate views. I now turn it over to Director of Voces de la Frontera, Christine Newman-Ortiz.
West Allis, ice out! West Allis, ice out! West Allis, ice out! West Allis,
West
Allis. Hello, my name is Christine Newman-Ortiz. Voces is a statewide member-led organization, and I'm here today because we also have members here in West Allis, and this is an issue that affects them and obviously everyone who lives in this in Milwaukee County. We're here today because our constitutional rights, public accountability, and community trust are at stake. Federal immigration enforcement has always raised serious legal and constitutional concerns, but over the last year, we've witnessed an alarming escalation in the scale, aggressiveness, and lawlessness of ICE operations. ICE is increasingly carrying out arrests based on administrative warrants or no warrant at all, while violating constitutional protections and causing profound harm to both immigrants and U.S. citizens. We've seen the tragic consequences in Minnesota, and across the country, ICE operations have been marked by secrecy, excessive force, and a troubling disregard for civil liberties. We've seen pastors shot in the face, children zip-tied during enforcement actions, peaceful protesters, reporters, elected officials, legal observers, and bystanders subjected to tear gas and excessive force, all while posing no threat to public safety. This is not what respect for the rule of law looks like. In fact, a ruling issued earlier this year, a federal judge wrote, ICE has likely violated more court orders in January 2026 than some federal agencies have violated in their entire existence. This statement should alarm every person who believes in constitutional government. Given the overwhelming evidence that ICE has repeatedly mischaracterized the basis for arrests and detentions, we cannot simply accept the agency's claims at face value. In the case of Alex Preti, ICE initially claimed he came at an officer wielding a gun and threatening officers. It was only after videos clearly showed this was a lie that they retracted their statement. Shame. Here in Wisconsin, we have seen firsthand how false allegations and unjust enforcement actions devastate both families and communities. In Manitowoc, ICE publicly claimed dairy workers were involved in a child trafficking ring. Those allegations were proven false. Yet those workers were arrested and rapidly deported, stripping them of any meaningful due process and separating them from their families. Salazar Sur, a lawful permanent resident and respected community member, was arrested by ICE under false allegations that he posed a threat. A federal judge just ordered his release after finding the evidence shown he had been targeted for exercising his First Amendment rights and speaking in support of Palestinian rights. Elvira Benitez, Yesenia Ruano, two mothers, one from Mexico and one from El Salvador, have no criminal history. Both are victims of crime, yet ICE threatened them treated them as if they were a dangerous threat. And most recently, Diana Socha Torres, and her 8-year-old son, asylum seekers from Colombia who were fleeing danger, had been detained and in less than 24 hours sent to an inhumane detention facility in Texas. These are not isolated stories. Mothers, fathers, community members, people with families, jobs, and deep roots in Wisconsin. They pose no threat to public safety, yet they are being targeted by an enforcement system that increasingly operates without transparency or accountability. ICE has met those calls for accountability with secrecy and in claims of immunity. Whistleblowers have exposed alarming practices, including inadequate vetting and training that encourages officers to rely on administrative warrants to enter homes, despite constitutional violations or surrounding these practices. This abuse of state power demands that local government strengthen our constitutional guardrails against federal overreach and abuse. That is why the current West Allis police policy must require a judicial warrant before local law enforcement collaborates with ICE in detention or enforcement operations. This is not about politics. It's not about constitutional. It is about constitutional rights. It is about public trust, community safety. It's about protecting West Allis taxpayers from liability. We are calling on Police Chief Mitchell and the members of the FPC to revise their policy to include to this judicial warrant for only requirement tied to serious crimes or violent felonies. To do this, this is really a call to the public to get involved and join us at a community informational meeting hosted by the ICE Out of West Allis Coalition that will take place on July 9th at 5:30 p.m. The location will be determined soon. But this is really an effort. In less than 10 days, 200 West Allis residents signed a petition asking for this. Sadly, the vote was 1-3 in terms of requiring, that would have required the judicial warrant standard. And we want to alert the public about this very real threat and to make sure that we hold our elected officials accountable. The mayor that appointed both the chief and the FPC. So we encourage people to get involved and to reach out to our local elected officials, the mayor, common council members, and put pressure on the FPC, which is setting the policy, to uphold our constitutional rights and public safety.
Any questions for any of the speakers?
I guess, it goes, why is it that it's so, just for people back home that are watching this, and who may not know the difference, right, of what guidelines are you giving people when it comes to, so if somebody comes to their door with and it's not a judicial warrant, what guidelines can you give people, about knowing your rights, I guess?
This has been a very important part of the work that's happening here and across the country, which is to have people know that if you're in your home or any private space, such as your workplace, that ICE does not have authority to go in there and question people or arrest people without a judicial warrant signed by a judge. Otherwise, if you let them in, they will come in, and we've seen the harm that's been caused and people kind of swept up in those operations. And so this is very important, and it's something that there's also been a campaign to, with small businesses putting up signs on their doors. We've seen these policies also being established by the Milwaukee Public School District to require this judicial warrant before ICE agents engage parents or students in or around schools. So this is really a very important frontline struggle to protect the community and to uphold constitutional rights.
So is the ask today for West Allis Police to end their partnership and their collaboration with federal immigration
agents altogether, or to revise the policy that's been approved and ask for this judicial warrant?
The coalition agrees that we're asking for a revision of the policy with the absolute minimum being the requirement of judicial warrant. Right now, it's just taking them at their word. And that's absolutely naive, it's contrary to the reality around us, and it's irresponsible. And that's why we're calling on the community to step up.
So why not ask West Allis Police altogether to end their partnership? Do you not think that could happen? Is that not a goal?
I mean, obviously there's federal supremacy, right? So there's federal law. So what we're asking is, there is no existing agreement with West Allis Police and ICE, unlike some other jurisdictions, thankfully. But Milwaukee County, the city of Milwaukee, have much stronger policies to prevent such collaboration. And so we can't tell local police to violate federal law. What we can tell them to do is to follow federal law, follow constitutional rights, and make sure that there is a constitutional document that says they have the right to be seeking somebody, not just handing them over kind of willy-nilly, and not creating unnecessary data by asking citizenship of everyone they bring in.
Gotcha.
Since the SOP was enacted, what conversations have y'all had with the Fire and Police Commission, and have they been open to hearing your requests?
Thank you for your question. So we've been in contact with a number of the commissioners, and we do have some commissioners who are friendly to the revisions, but I think what we're trying to do as a coalition is build more support and educate the public and the commission and the police chief about the importance of having a judicial warrant standard. It's really important that we raise awareness with these efforts because we're just trying to make our community safer for everyone. West Allis is a place where all people from every background, every identity, no matter what their immigration status is, can feel safe and at home here. And that's what we're trying to do. So we've been in contact with our local elected officials here in West Allis. We've been in contact with the commission, and we're continuing to do this work, and we're having this press conference to raise awareness for the public to get involved.
Has the commission been receptive to that request then?
Some commissioners have, some are still in conversations with.
Did they have any knowledge, obviously seeing it on the news, right, I'm sure, but like that you guys would be out here today, or any response to that?
We share this publicly. We haven't heard from them about this press conference, but we look forward to ongoing conversations.
One more time, can you explain the difference between a judicial warrant and an administrative warrant in the simplest terms?
So the question was about the difference between an administrative warrant and a judicial warrant. An administrative warrant is something that ICE officials, ICE officers can write on their own without any sort of legal review, without any probable cause, without any evidence. And ICE officials can show up at local governments, local police departments with these administrative warrants that they wrote themselves. So that's a conflict of interest. It doesn't promote public safety, doesn't promote trust. The reason why we're asking for judicial warrant is that this means a judge has reviewed the evidence, has seen that there's probable cause, that there's a legal basis for public safety, and it passes a strict test that a judicial warrant has a next level of public safety and has that standard. So that's why we're calling for a judicial warrant standard, because an administrative warrant is meaningless. ICE writes it themselves. A judicial warrant means that a judge has verified that there is a legal basis for cooperation, and that's what we're calling for in this policy.
And so under the policy right now, we understand that you don't need the police officers anyway, and ICE don't need a judicial warrant, but they do need an administrative warrant?
The current policy doesn't actually require an administrative warrant. It just requires ICE to reach out. So we're calling for a higher standard of even the consideration of cooperation.
So what are the next steps? If the commission agrees that they would want to revise this, would that have to be at the next meeting, or can it be taken into effect since before then?
We're organizing a public meeting to invite members of the public to get involved, and we do plan on coming to the next DFC meeting. We're going to make our voices heard, we're going to speak at public comment, we're going to continue to be in contact with the commissioners, so we're hoping to get this changed as soon as we can, to make our community safer for everyone.
And when is that next meeting?
I believe it is July 16th. It is the July 16th. It's the third Thursday of the month at 6 p.m. It'll be in this building.
Got-
So we'll be back. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
At this time,
Hi, hello everyone. I'm Carolyn Gomez-Tom with Milwaukee County. I represent District 14, and so I'm here in solidarity with my colleagues Sky Capriolo and Justin Blinsky and everyone here today to tell ICE to get out of West Allis. But I wanted to share a resource that the county had put together, a Know Your Rights page that does have examples between the difference between a judicial warrant and an administrative warrant, where people can take a look. It's from a resource from the ACLU, and that's county.milwaukee.gov/know-your-rights. And it's easily Googleable. Is that a verb? But you can find it online, and it's available in multiple languages. Yes, and Voces de la Frontera also has a Know Your Rights page. We link to it from our page as well.
And training, and as well as ongoing training, so people, when those circumstances arise, that people know how to assert their rights when it comes to a judicial warrant and how to engage with ICE.
Christine, one more question for you. I know at the beginning of the year, ICE was very prevalent in our communities, and that was top of mind. What's the feeling among Voces de la Frontera and immigration groups about an ICE resurgence in Southeast Wisconsin?
Yeah, I think it's very likely that we're going to see an ICE resurgence. They just got an additional $70 billion on top of $170 billion out of the national budget. There's been ongoing calls, especially in the lead up to elections, to basically interfere with elections, create chaos. So to put ICE officials at polling locations, which is completely senseless because it's well proven that only U.S. citizens vote. But I think that yeah, it's very likely. At this point, we're seeing a lot of kind of under the radar activity happening. That's happening in courtrooms, ICE check-ins, in homes. But there's no question, I think, that it's going to escalate, which is the urgency for us coming forward with this. It's a preventative measure.
Okay, at this time, I would ask if Christine, if you could take a Spanish language interview at that camera. And then if everyone else, let's do a group photo. Okay, I'm going to end the live stream. Let's say hi to our Facebook audience. This is the West Allis ICE Out Coalition. Okay, so this would be for social media. Let me end the live stream. You guys just go to nosotros. I saw some ACLU signs back there. Maybe if I can't see you, the camera can't see. We can fill out a little bit more now if you want. I mean, if they don't catch us, should we go on the reception to fill out for height? Should we jump? Just kidding.
Yeah. That's why I asked.
All right. See everybody? Okay. 1, 2, 3. If you don't have a sign, maybe a fist in the air. 1, 2, 3. Okay, awesome. If you would like a portrait, if you have a sign, I'll do portraits by trees. So, I'll set those as soon as I will make you look good, I promise.
I love when that happens.
How are you doing? Thank you for your work.
No, that's all right.
I've been all right.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
that's all right.
I've been,
I think we're gonna have that conversation.